Good afternoon. I'll call the Board of County Commissioners meeting for February 4th, 2025 to order. First item of business, roll call, all members are present. Lori, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the business agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the business agenda as presented.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, next item is public comment. Ask people, if you're in the room, please come forward. If you're on Zoom, please raise your hand. And then mute yourself once it's called upon. Keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. So I'll start in the room. Yes, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. Adrian Bradford, a Lyle resident. This morning's meeting, I was glad to hear that the chairman mentioned the subject of Commissioner, Public Water Rights Commissioners, Water Rights Commission, I guess officially, of which I am one of the board members. But if you ask I would say 99% of the people who look at the county, what is the Water Conservancy Board, they couldn't tell you. And if you ask, and that, well, the reason for that is actually there have been no water rights issued in the state of Washington for over 40 years. So those that are there are in firm, strong hands, and those people, of course, hang on to them. They're worth their weight in gold. They're worth barrels of gold. And the reason you don't hear about the water rights is because most people don't change them. They're using them for something. There's a lot of different restrictions on what they can be used for, but unless they change them, you never hear about it. And when they do change, it's probably something not very interesting to the public. And so there's some giant rancher who wants to make a little change, and he has to go through the Water Conservancy Board. Or else it's some stream that the Fish and Game has some issue, and the public doesn't really care. Well, you don't hear about Water Conservancy Board until now. And there are 6 people, of which I am one. Those 6 people are appointed by the state to recommend to the state, evaluate and recommend to the Board of Ecology. And the record has been the Board of Ecology is very receptive to what this board does recommend. So it's a daunting responsibility, but it has not been thought about because there hasn't been any real need much. But now we have Dalesport. We have an area where there's a lot of growth definitely happening and definitely going to happen. And there's all of that will require the water rights that exist there to have some probable change, use for lots of reasons. And there is, unlike some giant ranch in Alderdale, the Dalesport has a population, and these will be under discussion. And so there is a term up in June of one of us 6. So be sure you are aware of that. And it is a term that needs to be filled, and it needs to be filled by people that are seriously aware and interested in water rights. It's critical for this county.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for bringing it.
And thank you for serving on the board.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is there someone? Roger.
Oh, thank you very much. 3 questions for you today. One is I have noticed a tendency of late to not wait till everybody's asked all their questions to respond as had been done in the past. I don't know if there's a change imminent or if that's something going to revert to what you have been doing in the past. Also, Lori, welcome back. And I have a question for you, talking about water having to do with Dallasport and that process and where we are in that. Are there any updates on that? And third, I really like your new format. I think it's going to do well for you. Thank you.
He was questioning why we answer back right away, not waiting.
Yeah, then we'll wait. I don't know if I want to comment right away. I appreciate the comment on the format. I like the format. That's me.
And Dallasport Water is in the process, and we have upcoming meetings with the water district themselves, and we're working through the issues. So it's a process that's moving.
Anyhow, is there somebody in the audience that would like to speak? Yes, please.
Nice to do this in person.
Yeah.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Jean Patterson, and I'm here today on behalf of the Klickitat County Concerned Citizens, a group committed to promoting informed dialogue and supporting solutions to challenges facing our county. And we bring before you a matter with serious implications for the safety, trust, and well-being of our entire community. Klickitat County Sheriff Bob Songer recently made public comments suggesting he intends to directly involve the Klickitat County Sheriff's Office in federal immigration operations. We urge the Klickitat County Board of County Commissioners and the Klickitat County Sheriff to carefully consider the potential consequences of such actions. We believe Sheriff Songer's proposed actions expose our county to significant legal, financial, and community risks that require your immediate attention. To highlight these concerns, we point to the case of a constitutional sheriff who used county resources for immigration operations. These actions, similar to Sheriff Songer's stated intentions, ultimately resulted in costly lawsuits, settlements, and reforms that burdened the entire community. In 2007, Maricopa County, Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio's office was sued for racial profiling and unlawful detentions during so-called immigration sweeps. In 2013, the court found the sheriff's office in violation of the law and ordered damages payment in the amount of $70 million. Also, the county was ordered to implement costly reforms and to fund continued monitoring, with total costs that by mid-2025 are expected to exceed $300 million. Please consider the implications in our state of Washington, where sanctuary laws offer strong protections for immigrants. The financial and legal consequences of actions like Arpaio's in Klickitat County could not only strain our budgets, but could also lead to further legal challenges and added liabilities, with taxpayers bearing the additional brunt. Recently, Washington Attorney General Brown, joined by 12 other attorneys general, released a statement titled, "State and local law enforcement cannot be commandeered for federal immigration enforcement," asserting, quote, "Right now, these vague threats are just that, empty words on paper. But rest assured, our states will not hesitate to respond if these words become illegal actions." Further, the head of the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, Steve Strand, emphasized that, quote, "There is no direct federal authority over local law enforcement in federal immigration operations." For these reasons, we urge the Klickitat County Board of Commissioners to take immediate action to ensure county resources are not used in ways that undermine these protections or create unnecessary risks. Sheriff Songer, we encourage you to limit your cooperation with ICE to operations that comply with state law so that you do not subject the county to additional liability. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jean, have you reached out to the sheriff personally?
Yes, sir. I actually got a copy of the letter that I sent you last week.
Yes.
And he'll get another one this week as well.
I mean, on the phone?
On the phone,
Have you called the sheriff's department?
I sent him an email similar to the one I sent you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone online? Rick?
Yeah, good afternoon. I have a couple thoughts on the last subject there. I'm thinking Sheriff Songer is going to be assisting and not breaking any laws. And as far as I know, federal laws and they supersede state laws. And if people were worried about, being punished for breaking laws, they might not have broken said laws at the beginning. And enforcing the laws is never wrong, no matter what. Now, as for the other reason why I called, I just wanted to ask Lori about some public records that I found when I was going through. So, did you know that I ran against you at the last election and did not do well? But one of the first things I found was that you were registered in there as a Democrat. Now, everybody's able to make their own party choices, and that's just fine. Everybody can be whatever they want. But I just remember that going to the KCR meetings and you were there. And I just wanted to see if you're ready to admit that you used the KCR and fake the values that they share to get in line to what you wanted to do. Then when you got it, you went way off the left field. Now, I do have other public records I want to talk about, but I do need something to talk about next week. So I think, Lori, you probably know which public records those are, and I'll bring those up next week. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to ask that question and see if Lori would answer that one straight up. Thank you, guys.
Sure. First thing I do when I go home is check the PDC records. No, I have always been Republican. I can't remember when my historical family was not Republican. And I've always registered, paid for, and participated with the Republican Party. So I'm not sure, Rick, what document you think you found. But I will check my records. Thank you.
All right. Public comment from anyone inside the meeting room? Not seeing anybody. Sasha, you're next.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Sasha Bentley. I live in White Salmon. I'm actually late to a standing weekly 1 p.m. coalition meeting to be here today because I'm concerned about the lack of Zoom access and recordings for your Thursday workshops. As public servants, your role and the role of your staff is to serve the community, and a key part of that is ensuring transparency and accessibility for the people you represent. Providing virtual access to meetings is a simple, effective way to keep the public informed and engaged. Many community members have jobs, families, or transportation barriers that prevent them from attending in person, but that shouldn't mean they lose access to important discussions about our county. Transparency also fosters trust, and removing access to information does not solve problems, it creates them. If the goal is to build a stronger, more informed community, then the easiest step forward is to Zoom and record all meetings and workshops. It's a small action that has a big impact on public trust and engagement. So I urge you to reconsider that decision and ensure public meetings remain truly public. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the meeting room? Okay, anyone else online? Thought I seen Gabriel. Gabriel, excuse me.
Hi, thank you so much. First of all, I'm going to respond to the caller whose name rhymes with Dick and tell him personally and publicly that these continued attacks on the commissioner, Lori Zoller, are unacceptable. And it is a smear campaign and it is slander. And he needs to get a grip because all he does is the dirty work for the sheriff's department and the continued dirty work of placing elected officials in the crosshairs of his ignorance. That being said, I want to thank Jean for her excellent commentary, and she comes into this space beautifully. Now, the most important thing I want to talk about is childcare. And what I was on the phone with just recently this morning with Senator Paul Harris. There is conversations that we had concerning a building that sits in White Salmon that we, the people, have paid the rent on for an essentially empty building since it was consolidated from the Department of Families, Children, and Youth into Goldendale. And so the White Salmon facility has basically sat empty. I asked for the Senator Paul Harris to address the possibilities that a child care could be placed in that building so that we can start alleviating the desert that we live in. And I'm asking you as elected officials to make these inroads into each of our representatives for our county at the state level. Senator Harris, Representative Waters, Representative, I just blanked on his name. Oh my God, sorry about that. So reaching out to those representatives in the attempt that we can start moving forward in a more meaningful way of addressing childcare. The other thing Paul Harris, so Senator, was willing to do was to address the school systems and reaching out to the superintendent. So I'm asking you, my elected officials, to as well reach out to the superintendent to see if our public schools can be of service in creating childcare available in those structures. You already have the means for getting money, state, federal, and local dollars, and the possibility that because schools are throughout this county and they are peppered into this county and they are the center of the universe for communities in this county, that possibly we could be addressing that as the infrastructure build. So I'm asking again for childcare as an economic infrastructure to be addressed in a meaningful way. And I'm also asking for the smear campaigns that continue in this space by individuals against particular commissioners needs to stop. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And I look forward to speaking with you more on childcare and how we're going to address it. The other thing is Paul Harris, sorry, he didn't pay for the pool. He didn't ask for
Thank
those
you
grant
for
dollars.
your comments.
So we need those dollars too. Thank
Thank
you.
Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak? Okay, anyone else online? Not, I'll ask one more time, in the room or online? Okay, at this time, I'll close public comment. I'd just like to make one comment on our workshop last Thursday. Besides the different staff and elected officials that were present, there was probably 8 people from the public there. And one thing that I will have to say that having the workshops downstairs has afforded is we have a lot of input from the public that is there, that in a lot of different meetings, you don't have that opportunity to have the two-way communication. I think it's been working very positive. I appreciate some people would like to see it zoomed again. I think maybe in time, but we have some work, a lot of work we need to get done, in my opinion. But I think it's been very positive, and I've heard a lot of good comments on it. I really have. Because I like seeing people face to face, and I like to communicate with people. And like today, I appreciate seeing Gene. I mean, I just like to see people who bring things up. I appreciate that. I guess I'm old fashioned. That's just me. But, we have a public meeting at 1:30. We have 11 minutes. Well, we have a couple minutes. How much time would we have one item that our contract with the cities are up on the 15th on the judge services. Question is, is there any discussion on that, or are we just gonna leave it as is? I know we've kind of had discussion, we'd like to look at all the cities. Things on what all the cities paying down the road, but this one, those judge contracts are up on the 15th of the month.
Court services.
Yeah.
Doesn't municipality contracts for court services.
Did we reach out to the judges or whoever's in charge to see if the amounts are still the same or if the amounts have to change?
If I read the contract right, they just pay a portion of whatever the costs are, and as they rise, they'll
Okay.
pay that portion.
Okay,
So I don't see where there's any reason
nothing to
to
change.
renew them. I mean, not renew them as is and not add to it, but I just bring it up to the board.
But that sounds like we need to have the prosecutor write up another contract for,
Or we just.
is it every 2 years or 4 years?
2 years?
It could just be renewed the way it is. If it's the,
We just have to send a letter out to the cities stating.
Yeah.
That we just like leave the contract as is.
Mhm.
If you think that's okay.
That's great, and we'll keep it on track that way.
Yeah, yeah, then somebody down the line, hopefully get together with the cities and talk. All the other services that we contract, and so we can understand that, so. Yeah. Don't foresee any changes at all.
Good to keep it current.
Yes, I just seen it was up, I didn't realize it's up that fast. Seems like we have a lot of things that are up.
It would be my hope that we move any of those things that can be changed. We like move contracts, as many as possible that come up 1st of January, like move to March or something like that, or at least February. This especially, it won't be bad during other times, but during every 4 years or every 2 years when you have newly elected.
Well, and all these different appointments are all up, I see in January, and our consent agenda seems to be. Long, just because of all the appointments.
Yeah.
And contracts,
We could do the consent agenda,
okay. That would be fine.
okay? How many items are on this?
we can just do it as a like.
And how many are on there? Let me see, it's ABC this time.
I can just do it as a blanket consent agenda.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as a blanket
Yeah, just
with the items presented.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
My second.
Motion, whoops.
Okay, open for discussion. No,
Aye.
Go ahead.
I was gonna have some discussion, but my notation is on another paper. I didn't mark it on this sheet, because I have a different sheet.
I just, as mentioned earlier this morning, that basically sets up 2 public hearings on March 4th with Public Works. On roads and amending code 10.4030 for all terrain vehicles, which that's a normal yearly. I thought
Mhm.
item.
I didn't have any more of this.
More questions?
No, I got that one answered, so no, I'm all good.
Okay, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right.
payroll.
Yes,
Okay. Great. Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to pay the account payable warrants in the amount of $199,451.74. Date ending February 3rd, 2025.
been moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Do we have any payroll?
That was pay,
Or
no warrants.
no warrants, excuse me.
Yeah. No warrants. So that's okay. 5 minutes.
Yeah, you guys are moving through. the agenda.
Would you like to do commissioners' reports and comments?
Sure, we got 5 minutes.
Okay, and does that come in the form of a motion to appoint them?
Oh. Yeah, we could talk about it. I just put that down because I would like to work with Republic Services when there comes different issues. Just kind of like everybody else on different committees and then bring those back. Have discussion with the board. That's all that is.
I appreciate that for working order. I like having appointments.
So I just put it down. That's one I kind of mentioned. I'd like to be involved with the landfill.
Yeah.
And so if different questions come up, that we at least have a lead point and then bring it back to the board on the final
Then they know who to call.
decision. Yeah,
And then sometimes I think that helps us with situations where if they don't get the answer they want with one, they call the other. I
like
appreciate
mom and dad.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a longer standing understanding and history of that, and we will have to. That's a big one, so we'll have to do a really good job. So I would appreciate that and agree with you being the head on that.
Oh, yeah, motion would
Chairman.
probably be adequate.
So I would make a motion to appoint Commissioner Rana Irig as the representative to collaborate with Republic Services.
My second
Okay, any discussion?
Thank
No
you for doing
discussion.
it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Yeah, I keep forgetting that, so it's like I need to write it down.
Should we send them a little letter or?
Yes,
Have
can
staff
you draft the letter? And then I'll sign the letter saying I'm,
with all of his contacts? Give him his phone number.
please. And I think we got probably a future update with them anyhow. Yep, I know they were talking about doing a quarterly to give us an update. Yep. On waste streams and et cetera, et cetera.
3 minutes.
Yeah. 3 minutes.
I do have some things for old business, but it won't fit in 3 minutes, I don't think, so I better wait till later.
Okay.
Business.
Yeah, Tuesday we had a Great Klickitat meeting. Tuesday night.
Yes, we did.
They keep me here in Goldendale till really late. Luckily we got out early, which was 8 p.m. or something, 8:30. But sometimes it runs pretty late.
It does.
But yeah, there's a lot of good things going on with the county, and so Mayor Marler was there and Mayor Benjamin and lots of people. But lots of good things moving at the airport and Dallasport and City of Goldendale, City of White Salmon, Benjamin. They all have good ideas of how to kind of have some economic development and bring jobs and things to the area, and I believe on that checklist is something on Gabrielle Gifford's list. I think that's one of the agendas for Benjamin White Salmon for childcare. I don't know if it's on Goldendale's as well, but
I'm not sure Goldendale has it on it, but it did make the list, which is
yeah.
important.
Well,
You know, 2 years ago, it wasn't anywhere near a list, so
Yeah.
keeping it on the
and
forefront.
next week I start having conversations with private businesses that are kind of in the industry and people that have been daycare professionals in the past to see, besides waiting for government to kind of move along, to see, you know, what can be done on the side.
and I had mentioned, Gabrielle, that the county and the 2 hospitals will be doing a countywide needs assessment. Her to be involved with that also,
Yeah.
so.
You want them to come forward?
Sure.
Oh, wait a second.
We're close.
Walk slowly.
Does that mean you're carrying a big stick? Does that mean?
Okay, it's now the hour of 1:30. It's for consideration. Planning Commission's recommendation for adoption of the Klickitat County Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance. All right. Call this public meeting to order. Start with staff.
So I'm here to present the,
Go ahead.
okay, the
No,
planning
no,
commission's
there is a lag.
recommendation for adoption of the amendments to the flood damage prevention ordinance, which is County Code Title 21. The amendments will repeal the current flood management provisions that were adopted in December of 2020. And it also includes the adoption of the newly released 2025 FEMA flood insurance rate maps. The planning commission, or well, actually the planning department did environmental review on the ordinance. Planning commission held their public hearing back on January 21st, 2025, and they recommend approval of the ordinance as well as the firm maps. And the update to the flood damage prevention ordinance is a requirement in order to maintain flood insurance for property owners within Klickitat County. And it must be adopted on or before February 14th of 2025. So that's our quick,
What was the date?
we have to have it adopted by February 14th, 2025, or the county will lose flood insurance and the residents will.
And I'll add just a couple of things. One, as Lori said, this is required. The language being proposed is required language. We don't have an option for it. Fortunately, it's very minimal changes because we adopted a model flood ordinance in 2000. So it's only a few minor changes to the language to bring it up to date, and plus adoption of the flood maps. We did have some questions through the process from the public of, is there an opportunity to comment on the flood maps? That came and went to 2013. There was a 4 or 5 month comment period, an appeal period where the public could comment on the maps. Now individual properties can submit a request to FEMA to have the map on their property modified, but that is at their own expense, but there's not an opportunity to change the map. So it's almost a technicality that we're adopting this to make sure we can maintain our flood insurance program. Also wanted to mention the reason it's coming to you with such a short deadline is because our contact was Mochi and I believe one other person that they were emailing. And until late in the fall, when I finally had Mochi's emails forwarded to me, was the first time we received notification that we needed to get these done. So Lori really scrambled and helped make sure we met these deadlines.
I wasn't able to open the map. How much did the map change?
There were a few changes. Of course, we don't deal with the flood maps on a daily basis. And okay, so I'm most familiar with the Little Klickitat River around Goldendale. And I do know there was a few changes around the swimming pool, their park and rec property.
And then I noted changes in it, there were less restricted.
And yeah, exactly, kind
Kind of odd.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
What I reviewed, it didn't seem like I had, around my area, it didn't change at all. And I looked more up to even to the north.
I think there were only 2 citizen letters that people that chimed in that maybe entered into flood zone or something like that.
The question from people from Trout
Yeah.
Lake.
There is, yeah, right. There was one gentleman, Stephen King, from Trout Lake, who wanted a map amendment, and of course, he was too late for that. We did forward him the information that we received from our flood contacts with Department of Ecology on how to go about amending if he wanted to do that. And then the other comment we had was from an agency, and I can't remember.
Yes.
I think it was WDFW.
WDFW was on there and what they were asking. I was a little confused because I thought a lot of the water resources were governed by ecology and not WDFW, but that was me.
Do we know how many residences or businesses entered into a floodplain that were not in one?
We don't have that information. I don't know if at the time that the maps were being advertised, if that was provided, but I have not done a comparison or asked for a comparison.
And there was a public meeting
Yeah,
with
there was.
FEMA. I think Ecology was here, and I know Mochi, it was downstairs,
Mhm.
probably 2022, maybe early 23.
And it was a public meeting, the FEMA representatives and all, and available online as well.
Yeah,
So,
because I participated online. And my questions followed up.
for some reason, I seem to remember I went to one in the community of Klickitat. And I don't know who presented it, but we did go over that.
But yeah, I was very, actually little comment on what we have. Because my first thought process was, okay, if we're coming, yeah, we're gonna hold a public meeting. And if we decided there was more input we needed and we decided to have a public hearing, there wouldn't be the time. I mean, it just create wrinkles. But I didn't see a lot in the record. I did bring it to staff's attention this morning when I was reading some of the record, and I seen the CAO and comments in there, and it was actually the draft minutes given for the record. Planning commission was dealing with two different.
Right, it was a busy night.
So I got a little, nervous there.
Well, and I got a little paranoid thinking we sent you the wrong packet, so.
No, it was the correct packet, and I understand now it was the draft minutes of the
last planning commission.
Yes.
Meeting on the 21st of January.
but I just seen it in the record, so
And I think
Yes.
part of the time constraint came from what I saw, that this was a national effort. And there were employees working for FEMA, very few employees working for FEMA that had to recreate this across the United States. So it was a pretty heavy lift for them. They had timeframes to meet.
it's a pretty clean record. So,
Were you able to look at the map?
Mhm.
Did it move much?
It didn't, like I said, it didn't indicate more floodway. I thought it was less restrictive than the one before it. They re-identified as a lesser impact in quite a few areas.
Okay.
yeah, and like I said, I just looked at the map a couple years ago from a little Klickitat, east, north.
And if I remember right, I think Pat Arnold submitted comments somewhere along in this for the Trout Lake area, having seen the 96 flood and having seen where it was up above car tires in certain places, but that wasn't denoted on the maps and she had concerns about it.
And I think she was involved back 22, 23 or so when they were having those community meetings.
So do you need a motion for this?
We
Well,
do. Unfortunately, we don't have the document for you
The
to find
findings
due
of
to
fact.
some technical difficulties, but
We need a motion to accept, here you go. The findings of the conclusion,
okay.
it's in the record,
Okay. Thank you.
even if it doesn't have the sign off sheet, it is in the record.
Okay, well, technically I have the sign off sheet if you want it, but it's not,
Yeah,
we weren't able to get it uploaded.
So Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that the county commissioners accept the findings and the conclusions for the flood damage prevention ordinance. And that will be presented and signed next Tuesday.
Yes.
That cover it all for you?
okay. Been moved, is there a second?
Second.
Open for discussion. No more discussion? Okay, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. At this time, I'm gonna ask the board if be a motion to close this public meeting. Means that,
Okay.
Are we there?
yeah, for that, just this
Oh,
public
okay.
meeting.
Okay.
So I would make a motion to close the public meeting in regards to the floodplain ordinance.
I second the motion.
Move second, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
Thank
This-
you.
public meeting closed, thank you. I didn't mean to scare you guys saying we're ready to close the other meeting.
We are going to here.
We're,
Scott, thanks, Lori.
thanks, Scott. Lori. Yeah, we have meetings within meetings of meetings. The next item I have is under new business. We have the presentation and resolution from the Goldnell chapter of Future Business Leaders of America, declaring February 9th through the 15th, 2025, Future Business. This is Lead of America Week in Klickitat. Feel free to grab more chairs. Now we're going to turn this over to you.
And make sure white salmon.
Okay?
They're
White salmon on?
Yeah, they are.
Right.
Go ahead, Libby.
I'm Lydia Hanning and I'm the president of our Golden FBLA chapter. And I've been in FBLA for 4 years and I've been an officer for 2 years.
I'm Greta Gillum and I'm the vice president and I've been an officer for 2 years and a member for 3.
I'm Maggie Gutierrez. I'm the secretary. This is my second year being an officer and my second year being an FBLA.
I'm Braxton Seaver. This is my first year in FBLA and I serve as the treasurer.
You guys.
And now Columbia will introduce themselves.
Yeah, hi guys. My name's Garrett Cook. This is my 4th year in FBLA and my 3rd year as an officer.
Hi everyone, my name is Milo Hoppus. This is my 3rd year in FBLA and my 1st year as an officer.
Hi, I'm Anna Zent. This is my 3rd year in FBLA and my 1st year as an officer. I'm our vice president.
I'm Lila Witherite, and this is my 3rd year in FBLA and my 1st year as a FBLA officer.
Yeah, there was another one in there. I didn't see that.
So we're going to tell you a little bit about what we do in our chapter. I'll start first with our main fundraising is we get it through the food truck that we do at football games. And we also run concessions for indoor sports like basketball and volleyball and wrestling. Doing these concessions teaches us more about like counting money and keeping inventory. And also we get to work on our customer service. And now I'm going to hand it over to Greta and she's going to talk about backpacks for kids and what we do for our community.
For Backpacks for Kids, our FBLA member class, we pack 280 meals a week and we give it to members of our community.
This past Friday, we competed at regionals and we qualified 9 members for state in Bellevue, April 23rd through April 26th. And so we're using our fundraising to pay for our state.
That's a good number of people.
February 28th, we plan to go to a Tri-Cities Americans hockey game to celebrate the success in our chapter.
Columbia, do you want to add on that?
Yeah, thank you. So our chapter also competed at the WLC with Goldendale. We took 45 members up and were able to qualify, I think, 40 members to state. Kind of one of our things that we take pride in is my freshman year. We had 9 members go to state FBLA, and since then we've grown exponentially. Last year we took 40 to state, and this year we're about that same. So we've had some pretty impressive growth. Do you guys want to chime in about fundraising and whatnot?
Yeah, so this year, one of our biggest fundraising opportunities is we're working to do pre-orders right now to sell our Columbia High School merch to the general student body and community members. So that just came out. We finished our flyers and we've sent out the pre-orders to be sold at sports games. So most of the fundraising for that merch, both for FBLA and for our White Salmon Valley School District and the high school, that money will go towards supporting our FBLA students at state.
And then as far as we're working on a few community service activities at the moment. We're working on some like trash pickup days and some other things that we have planned that are going to kind of go in between our this WLC and then the SBLC in April. So we're excited to start doing those as well. You have anything to add? Okay, that's about it. We have. Thank you guys.
I would like to know what some of the merch is that you guys are selling.
Yeah.
And also from Goldendale and CHS, what What exactly did you do at regionals to be able to continue on to state? It's been a little while since I've been in high school and FBLA, so.
So I did an agribusiness test and I placed first in it, and then I did a social media strategies like campaign thing with Maggie, and we placed third.
About what you did for your social media campaign though.
We promoted an eco-friendly clothing brand, and we tried to use like social media strategies to sell it to them.
But it was a real company.
Yeah, it was a real company.
Wow. That's awesome.
I'll go next. I did a mock job interview, and I like doing that because it helps me with my skills like in real life when I go to a real job interview, and I placed fourth.
My project is an on-state one, so I already get to go to state, and it's going to be about our food truck and how we do it.
I took an economics test that was 100 questions and I placed third at regionals.
Yeah. What is your food truck?
Oh, our concession.
The concession
Yes.
stand, okay.
Which I really appreciate you having concessions at ball games, etc.
We are working on the popcorn.
The popcorn, I was gonna bring up the popcorn, I kind of missed the popcorn, football games, but I know that takes a lot of effort and a lot of your time to do that, so thank you.
White salmon, do you want to add on to how you place at regionals?
Yeah, I competed in a few events. I placed first in job interview, first in spreadsheet applications, and Milo and I placed fifth in public service announcement.
Yeah, like Garrett mentioned, we did public service announcement. I also placed third in journalism and second in public policy and advocacy.
Yeah, I also participated in the objective test for public policy and advocacy and placed fourth place. So that's one of those tests that you take beforehand. That's about 100 questions in 50 minutes. And then I participated in 2 performance events. One was sales presentation, which I didn't place for state. And then the other one was client service, where I essentially go into a room and I'm presented with a problem and have to solve it as if I'm a customer service representative. And I get about 10 minutes to, come up with some notes for myself, and I placed second in that one.
I got second in health administration and fourth in help desk.
And then you asked a question about our merchandise, and so we're working to sell. The White Salmon Valley School District just changed their logo. It used to be kind of a logo of Mount Adams, and it was kind of blue, green, and I think a purple. And so it didn't really fit our school colors as much. And so we recently, in the past month, got a brand new district logo. So we are selling merchandise with the new district logo, as well as just our CHS logo in t-shirts, sweatshirts, quarter zips, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant.
When do you guys meet? What, do you guys have regular FBLA?
Look at that smile, like, oh, we meet.
We meet, about once a month during school. It's during our lunch.
Is it the same third Tuesday or?
It's third Friday, I think.
Third Friday?
Yeah.
What about White Salmon?
We meet on the first and third Thursday of every month.
I'd just maybe like to pop in sometime if I'll contact you guys and reach out.
Sorry, I might not have hit the unmute button. Sorry. We meet every first and third Thursday at lunch in every month.
Perfect.
Ask them to present the resolution to them
Um,
along with.
We are here to ask you to proclaim February 19th through 15th, 2025 as FBLA week in Klickitat County with White Salmon.
I make a motion to declare February 9th through 15th, 2025 FBLA of America Week in Klickitat County.
And I will second. Did you get the dates?
19th.
Nice.
19th or the 9th.
9th through 15th.
Thank you.
I said that.
Thank you. And I seconded.
Okay, there's a motion, it's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
It's good to see our future leaders.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you to Heather and the rest of the Goldendale FBLA for inviting us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
When is state?
April 23rd, 26th.
Okay, do you want to get a picture of them like the? Yeah, hey, let's get a picture. Nice try, kid. Do you need this one for signatures?
And you get some of it.
Yeah. So you sign one.
Well, thank you.
Wait, hey, stay, and I'm gonna take a picture of the screen so I can send it to Colin. Oh, I'm it. Hey, smile, white salmon. Okay, we're good. All right.
We can screenshot them in, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Next item of business. That is show, some of business that we wanted to talk about this afternoon.
Yes, I had unfinished business. Was there anybody else that wanted to go before us or was staff? Did anyone remember do anything? They're just here for, okay.
And, I know this is kind of early, but can I take an 8-minute recess, please? Before we get into the next session. They're meeting. Thank you. All right, I'll call the meeting back to order. Probably first Courtney.
Yes, and that's my subject. And
I assumed it was.
Yes, it was. Well, we've been doing this and we've got to come to a conclusion. So I brought it back up under old businesses. It's in regards to probation services. And I would like to thank Judge Hanson for taking his time again today to be in the room and Courtney for being here because they know the situation and and their dedication to this. I have to honor them for that. So I'd like to start with just a quick short discussion again on probation services. This has been an ongoing discussion now, new to this board, but it's been going on for over 1.5 years. Courtney identifying that she needed the help and coming to the commissioners 1.5 years ago. And I think that's when it opened up the discussions about funding of a position to help with their situation. I don't think there's any way to account for time, staff, and the effort that's gone into this problem. The fact remains that in 2022, the position in question was held, but was defunded by 2 commissioners as a budget savings. Courtney was moved forward and her position was left open and the funding was taken from that position. Not that it wasn't a needed position at that time and could have been used, but also without the foresight of what would happen to probation services in the future for the need of that position. And it was stated that the department would have to find money by the past commissioners. The BOCC managed the budgets and there is no money to be magically found in the probation department. The ask to the BOCC is the attempt to find money by Courtney, a serious ask which could become a devastating problem with impacts to our entire criminal justice system if not addressed. As 1.5 years has passed, The casework and loads have expanded to an unmanageable level. This discussion is close to the last straw before the camel's back breaks for probation services. And Judge Hanson, would you like to add any comments before I go any further? If you have.
Well, I just appreciate the consideration. I think we talked about this at length at our workshop regarding the need and the essential services that probation provides. So I don't know that we need any more discussion about that decision to make. And I understand it's an important decision. It's financially based. But if we don't get another officer, unfortunately, we're going to have to make some cuts. We cannot continue to go on as we are. Otherwise, my department's going to be in mutiny. These people work extremely hard. They take their job seriously. They're just tremendously overburdened by what we do. And I hope it doesn't come to that point. We have to start deciding which essential service that we cut because we can't get that position filled. But I think we discussed it at length at the workshop. If you all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But that's where we are. If we don't get that person, then we're going to have to look at what services we cut. We may even ask you if you have recommendations, and that's going to be some choices or difficult choices that we don't want to have. If you have any more questions for me, I'll be happy to answer.
Well, I have some comments, but maybe I need to let Lori finish with her.
And I agree. It's been discussed to the end. It's been ground into the road by the cities and the county. We've done everything we can for discussions on this subject. So I do have two options that I'd like to put forward to the board for their decision. And I appreciate your comment.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So in researching this and looking at everything we could do, I found that there's basically two options. I'd like to move forward with the first in the form of a motion to fund, and this has been discussed with the cities and as an option that they could work with. I'd like to make a motion to fund probation services as per their request for the position for 1 year. And caveats in that motion would be during that time, the BOCC and the cities would commit to reviewing the idea of a public safety levy. If the levy is found not possible or does not pass by September of 2025, the BOCC would pursue and finalize city contracts for probation services that would be implemented January 1 of 2026. And that motion would give us the extended time to continue conversations about the levy and research it with the auditor, the treasurer, everybody that needs to be involved with that situation. The cities had looked at it, but I don't think they had enough information about what that meant or how to do it. So that was my first motion, to request funding for 1 year.
Okay. You had put a motion forth?
Correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion. I'll second the motion.
Motion seconded, open for discussion.
I believe, well, I don't want to pander my case. I guess discussion means you have a question.
I don't disagree. There's not needs in the department. I met with Courtney and just even being there in a half hour, it was amazing how many different phone calls and people coming in and out and but we have a lot of other needs that I've received from people. It's just amazing since we came in. It's like maybe there wasn't decisions, or because we're a new board, people are coming at us. It's crazy, and it's happening too fast to me, because it's easy to make decisions as we go, and then come budget time, realize what decisions we made and how it's impacting our full budget. I'm not saying there's not a need here. I be careful. And then two, within the motion was a levy
to be explored.
If
it's possible. If not, the cities have committed that they do owe, they've committed that they do owe probation services, but still have unchecked questions that need to be explored before they pay. At some point in time, that conversation comes to the end and we just draft a contract and they have to pay, but they would like to explore the public safety levy for several reasons before we move to that contract.
Because I feel that's gonna be a bigger, broader discussion
It's gonna
too,
be a big
not
one.
just for this department.
It is, it's gonna take some work to get through that, but I'm committed to stick with it and walk through those questions and get the group together and see what that looks like for both the county and the city. Because the public safety levy would not, from my understanding, would not just fall, money would not just fall with the cities. It would also potentially fund some other things within public safety for the county. You divide those monies up, it doesn't just go to one initiative.
Then the other question I had, was there any other short-term solution? And I don't know, there may not be.
After a year and a half, no. The only one was the city contracts. I could not come up with anything else that would help everybody all the way around, but immediately help for impacts with probation services because they're at critical meltdown. And if Courtney loses employees because they're too overburdened, we'll have nothing. And then that impacts all the other criminal justice system.
So because Thursday we're having budget discussions. And it would be nice to look at this.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have the discussion with maybe later this afternoon that we need. As one of our priorities was budget. And we're gonna need to move that priority up right away with recent transactions. And probably put other things aside
And
and
actually.
just focus on the budget for the next month.
We moved up to this Thursday, right?
No, we were just talking about the position.
This budget.
The 13th, I actually have it's getting filled up, but not necessarily budget. I've got
No, but I'm
No,
saying
the 6th. What did we schedule for the 6th?
nothing.
nothing yet. Maybe it depends on the position, your discussion in regards to the position.
The other position.
For me, the impacts of what would happen, you're gonna pay for this one way or another. If the judges have to cut, serious criminals will have to be remanded to jail. That's gonna make impacts at the jail costs. It's not just a free bed. So one place or another, we're gonna start adding up money again. And if we have probation services that is successful, is thriving, it needs to build its program because we know what our future is. Laws are changing, we're gonna have more impacts. My desire would be to fund it. We saw, I think in a recent email from the auditor, what we took in more than last year, and quite a bit more in the millions compared to the cost of what this would cost us if we keep trying to be cautious. At some point in time, yes, there's lots of asks, but when you've got a fire that you don't deal with, or you have a hole in your roof and you let the water keep pouring in, your money in the savings does you no good.
And I just caution the board. Yeah, we had more revenue in than we spent.
Right.
But you must remember, when a large amount was interest income, that may not be here later this year or next year. Be careful of funding positions on that. It's all I'm saying. And for me, it's just difficult. I've been in the position for 30 days, and a lot of positions have been coming at me, and I've almost got to the point of saying, I'm putting skids on everything till I understand it. But that's just me. I'm not trying to be negative here.
And I don't dispute that at all. And I think I share that same attitude, but this is a situation I believe that's critical. I believe it's going to have far-reaching impacts to the county if we don't address it. I think had two commissioners not made a decision to take away the funding, we have other departments with, or other positions with not filled positions and the funding sitting there. And perhaps that would have been a better idea with probation services, not to just sweep the funding out to put it in the savings, but leave it funded in case Courtney, as a new director, needed to move forward. And that didn't happen. It's almost like correcting wrong, not adding new funding back in.
Well, you've been involved with a lot longer than I have.
And would it be possible to move this to this coming Tuesday for a vote and actually have the actual position and costs?
The budget.
Yeah. Basically what exactly the position we'd be hiring for and what the cost is, and give us a week to talk to a few others and it is important, but
You have it with you?
I can have that again.
Normally for a new position, they would go to HR first and we would bring that information to you.
And I don't think it's a new position.
It's not a new position, it's
No.
just it's a vacancy that never was funded.
I can speak a little bit to public safety levy as well, if you
Okay,
want to
yes.
have that discussion now. I can talk about it.
Oh, we still have motion on the floor. You want a clarification? Yeah.
yeah.
Courtney, could you tell us from your memory, because I know I've seen those sheets about the position and what you need and the amounts.
Yeah, the position is for case manager. It would be between step 1 and 3, ranging from 75,000 to 80,000 a year.
That's fully loaded.
Wages and benefits.
Thank you.
Yes.
Heather, what did you say you could speak to?
The public safety levy, if you wanted to talk about that.
At least a high level, maybe?
Yeah.
Let's think about that. Kind of get us thinking about if that's even. As I understand, there's two ways to do it. The cities can go out on their own, or they can go out with the county.
Well, there's a public safety sales tax and there's a public safety levy. So there's two options, and I'm not as versed on the sales tax as I am on the levy. So I just want to talk about the levy because that was what was suggested to me might be a topic of conversation. It's a 6-year levy. It's up to 50 cents. The last county, it's not a very popular levy. It doesn't look like what most counties are going after. Most jurisdictions appear to be taking the option of a sales tax rather than a levy, with moderate success. Some have passed, some have failed, but the last time the public safety levy was attempted was in 2016 by Wahkiakum County, and it failed. Part of the issue with levies is you have to have a 60% voter turnout from the last general election. Keep in mind, this last general election had a really big turnout. So to run it, we sort of crunched the numbers, and basically we'd need a 30% turnout in whatever election you ran the levy in. We're going into an off year. Are you going to get a 30% turnout? So you need a 30%, you need that turnout number, and then you need a 60% approval. So you have two standards you have to meet with the levy. It's the number of voters and then the number of units.
So is that passed by simple majority then?
Super majority, 60%.
Super.
But you have a turnout threshold.
Yes.
And would it be possible to do that in that 1 year span? To get it? I don't know how, I know you have seasons that you can do this.
So we could do it this year. I mean, we could run it in the general election, but remember last general election had a really large turnout, right? So if you have 100% turnout in an election, getting your threshold of voter turnout is it's a bigger number than if you have, say, a 50% turnout. So, I mean, that needs to be considered in terms of which election you decide to run it in. I would not suggest running it this November. That's a harder threshold to make than if you run it, say, next November, when there's a whole bunch of county offices on the ballot and we get better turnouts. So that would mean that delays that process. And the county, of course, bears the cost of running that election as well. So there's a cost associated.
I don't know, within, do you have any more questions about levies? Right.
No.
Within a motion, when we're talking about a motion on the table, I had some additional ideas and a possible second possibility for the commissioners to consider. I don't know how I would handle that. Can I handle that within this motion and tell you what it would be?
We could have a discussion on it, but we need either vote the motion on the floor, or we need to table the motion on the floor. I mean, the motion could be voted on. If it passes, it passes. Then there's further discussion of what's within the motion. Or if it doesn't pass, then there could be further discussion down the road, or it could be tabled.
Well, and if we funded for 1 year as the motion asked, and we explored the public safety levy, the motion also contained that by September, if we were not successful in moving forward with that public safety levy, we'd go back to the cities and say, that's the done deal, you're just going to pay your fair share and adopt the contract and they've admitted they owe for probation service.
I just thought we were gonna get everything that we're charging the county, so we understand, or the cities. The county's charging the city, so we understand everything out there from emergency services.
And that'll be a long process.
Yes.
Yeah, and Courtney doesn't have that time. We're gonna destroy probation service.
And you'd mentioned, did you already discuss the option 2?
No.
Because we're in my first motion. Which is kind of, which is the only other option you have actually beyond this is just craft the contracts, get the city and say, we're not gonna have any more discussion. We're just gonna pay your fair share. Jim?
I guess I would somewhat like to table, because I think we are only a week or 2 weeks away from having that complete kind of budget, to being able to look at it and decide what else we might be cutting by adding this, or what else, some of those decisions. And so I guess I'd look to Courtney is like, if a couple weeks on this is, I don't want.
It's been 1.5 years. Right,
and we
but
this was just brought a week and a half ago or whatever,
and these are the things you're gonna find. You're inheriting things, and I know we want to walk into it and want everything to be nice in a package that we can work through, but you're gonna have a lot of things that are gonna come up that were left over, that can was kicked down the road, that we're gonna have to care. They're gonna come.
Yeah, I just don't, I don't want them to not feel our support and the knowledge of the urgency and the caring and what kind of job you guys do there, how important that is. But for us to do another week or so of due diligence, probably actually 2 weeks to grasp some of the stuff and bring in all the numbers, because would be I think important.
There are other revenue sources available rather than a public safety levy. There is sales tax. There are two different sales tax related revenue sources and a criminal justice levy. The last that I had saw was the city of Bingen putting forth a suggestion of a public safety sales tax. So there are at least three revenue sources if we're going down the road of a tax increase, to explore that one or the other might be a better fit and solution. But without that discussion, I would caution. I just want to make sure that the board was clear that there are other options rather than just a levy.
Okay.
And you went through a lot of different options during the budget process last year.
There are detail within the, each of you have the 11 by 17 tabloid size paperwork of the proposed revenues for 2025, and within those are the MRSC revenue guides, links to these types of options. But if you would like, I can bring back those particular options and what they would mean, pros and cons to the county.
So there's a motion on the floor. To vote on the motion.
I'd hate to say that because of just our education, we keep the judges and that probation services in the situation they're in, and then it fails during the time that we're getting educated. And if we could see our way to fund it for the year, but then tie that into requirements that the cities are tied to the contract by January 1st of 2026, or they go ahead and go forward, just like Jen said, with a public safety tax that they've been discussing for themselves. Let them float that, and if it fails, then we're not involved in that. And if they don't fund themselves and figure out their own budget, which is frustrating me too today, because we sat here and looked at these documents, and the county is a good neighbor. You're talking millions of dollars that they come in and ask for from our KCP funds to complete their infrastructure, and we're talking of $100,000 a year potentially or less. Right. That really frustrates me. Being asked to constantly be the goodwill neighbor for a service that we're providing to them for public safety, but yet we're supposed to turn around and dedicate dollars for their infrastructure. That's a hard pill for me to swallow.
Well,
You said how does it get tabled, or how does it move forward to a vote?
we move forward the vote right now, unless you want a new motion to table this to, I prefer it to be to a defined date. If you're gonna table. Then tabled indefinitely.
Otherwise, it's the all those in favor.
Yeah, one or the other.
Well, I'd make a motion to table for 2 weeks.
Okay, to be discussed on the Tuesday.
What is that?
On the 18th.
Tuesday 18th.
Do we want workshop about this is it the 13th? We're having a workshop. With a final decision on the 18th.
Okay, workshop. There's a motion to table. I believe the table needs a second. I'll step down and second the table.
Thank you.
We'll vote on the tabling motion first. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right. This decision has been tabled. Thank you for bringing it up, Commissioner. Thanks for the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, I think it's good to have good discussion. So.
I think in my time here, this has been the first one I've been that passionate.
I just appreciate more. I need more time to understand the budget before I start piecemealing. I'll just say it publicly. And I understand this has been
No,
going on a long time.
I really appreciate.
And I had a
you being
good visit with
conservative.
Courtney yesterday and I'm like, is there any
It's easy to say.
something in between, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think there is, right?
That may not be. But anyhow, thank you for your time. All right. We'll follow up on discussion we started having this morning
Okay.
on on the position. I was trying to think what position, physical manager position.
I bet my piece.
Okay, does this come from you?
Yeah. Commissioner Andrews requested a copy of the job description, and I attached the document that Jen went over on the role of the position. Commissioner Moore was not at that meeting, so I think she's on the table.
Yeah. We'll be at the table.
Let me hand that to you. All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So with the resignation, the question is, you said you would like to visit a little more on.
Yeah.
What's the job description? Where are we at? I said I would like to bring in, or at least have the auditor in for discussion too. I mean, this is, you know, this position ties together with the auditor, the treasurer, departments. I think it's at least good to start having a discussion. And I know Rob was asking for an approach. Go ahead and apply and hire somebody to help us in this direction. And before we decide to do that, we're gonna open it for discussion. So.
And my ask wasn't to preclude the discussion.
No, I know.
And parallel tracks.
It was move forward here. With the intent, we're still gonna work here, but. Moving forward this way, it is gonna take time. It's not gonna happen overnight. I've always been one, sometimes it's good to see what you might have and then make a decision. But.
I wondered if Heather wanted to.
Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
Just for the record, I don't mean to suggest in any way that Jen hasn't done a bang up job in her job. But I've been very vocal for several years that budget belongs in the auditor's office. Statutorily, that is a role of the auditor's office. When the name that shall not be spoken left in 2020, I attempted to get the previous county auditor to bring the budget back into our office. She declined, as was her prerogative. But now we have an opportunity to bring it back into the office, which is where I think it belongs. I think the board needs to really look at the job description. I think there are some inaccuracies in the current description, some of which bring up, you know, at least for Greg, PTSD about a certain lawsuit that, you know, we won't talk about right now either. But and then there are some other roles that are predicated on some definitions that aren't really defined either. So I think the board needs to look at what it wants out of this role. I think Jen has gone above and beyond what you guys have in the job description. But now is our time to look at it, and we're asking other departments, right, to look at where they can make changes or efficiencies, and is this really still what's needed? So that, I think that's one of the questions is what do you guys need? What do you guys want? And where is the appropriate place to put that position?
And I know for the job description for me, I looked at it some time ago when I was struggling with work order and how things were defined and who informs the departments or who works with the departments because of our legal requirements upon us. We're the head of the departments. And so informing us and working through us was what I had felt should be happening. But many times because of the job description, it was designed that it was going around the other way. And it was tough for the departments and tough for me many times in the past year or 2 years. So the job description, I think, needs to be revamped in my mind. I do believe the commissioners need, I would love to see the commissioners have budget help, have somebody at call that we can talk to immediately with questions. We're going to be forever learning the budget. We're not financially educated people with degrees, so that's important for us. And I do believe having help, if we say, sure, this department's struggling, let's help them with this, that, having somebody so we're not burdening you or burdening Greg with our stuff every day.
And one of the confusions I think you guys created, and I think I've been very open about this as well, is that you put this position not in the commissioner's org chart, you put it in HR's org chart, and you know, is this your position? Is this HR's position? I mean,
They're actually all your positions in my return.
but she was tasked with things directly from the commissioners, which that's fine. You could call Nicole and ask her to give you something too. I mean, that's not what I'm suggesting. Is you just in terms of interactions with departments and offices, it's, I mean, you've just created this anomaly.
We didn't.
Well,
it was
the board did.
I inherited, and then now you're another thing you're inheriting.
Whether it goes to the auditors or stays with the commissioners, I'm not sure I agree that it created an anomaly. You're not bound by previous commissioners. They had a lot of discussion about not creating another director position and how could they be efficient, much like they did with parole and probation. They made decisions on how to fund something and move something forward. And when Glenn retired, they had to figure out how to move things around. Otherwise, you'll have 57 directors.
But they created a director position without creating a director position and continued down the path of backdooring things on departments and elected officials.
I don't think Jen ever did that, but
I don't think Jen did that.
No,
It's not what I'm suggesting.
Right.
That's
Saying
where
the board did.
a lot of the discussion and kind of where mine, when I served before, the auditor did our budget. You know, and then right when I was leaving is when this position was created. Right after I left as commissioner, I want to say back in 97 or so.
Oh, it was created that long ago.
Yeah, yes.
I think it's very common to have it be in the auditor's office, at least in our rules.
Yeah, mine, in my
code
concern
counties generally, yes.
is accessibility. I don't have that issue, especially working with you, not an issue. But down the road, if you get a different auditor and they have a different opinion, then we may, you know, we may lose a step. I really much appreciate that I'm able to go in, sit down with Jen and say, I need A, B, C, and D. And it's really helped me big time here since I've came back. Because the budget's completely more complex than it ever was. Because I was the one commissioner that got to work with the auditors directly to come up with the budget. And it's a lot bigger work.
And not every auditor is created equal, not every commissioner is created equal. And
yes,
you know, we've had some discussions about relationships, and we have a great relationship, but that won't always be. And, creating positions around people who are in positions where we create now this unicorn that we can never fill again if they leave. So, I mean, we've done that too. And so I'm just suggesting that this is the time to have those conversations, and whether I think it belongs in the auditor's office. But whether you decide to go down that path isn't going to change the way I work with you or whoever's in that position. Just saying now is the time to look at it, particularly as we head down the continuum of looking for efficiencies and in the county and the future, that we have an opportunity to look at it. And maybe we do things the same way we've always done it. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but to just say, well, we're gonna do it because that's the way we've done it.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to have. We wanted to have the discussion, I mean, in fairness, I don't want this just like this.
So the word statutorily belongs to the auditor. Do you envision,
But can I interrupt real
Yeah.
quick? Let me walk that back a little bit. The budget is yours. The budget is not mine. The preparation and presentation to the commissioners to make those budgetary decisions.
is your,
Are, yes.
so would you envision, more hands-on guiding of how that all happens and working with the commissioners to create a position that you think you see necessary for us, is what I'm asking. In creating somebody under this position that does a defined job that you think should be set out for.
I don't think it's about what I think you need. I think you guys have to decide what it is you need. And when we first started looking at this position, when Glenn retired, I believe we had a different level. I mean, we had a couple of options. One that was more analyst, more, being able to give you guys discussions on trends and ideas, and somebody who was just more of a clerical procedural. Here's your package. Let's walk you through it. Not as in depth as what Jen has done for you. But that's a decision you guys have to make about what kind of level you need. And there is some overlap between, what my office does and Jen's office does. There is some duplication. Do we need it? Maybe we do, but that's a conversation. I don't think we can go any further in this discussion until you guys figure out what it is you need and want.
What are some of the advantages of having it in your office? Besides, I know historically it is.
Some of it, like I said, is the duplication of work. You get it down to, we're not efficiencies, I guess, but to be straight up and answer that, what is the advantage of having it in my office? I don't know that I can give you an answer specifically that there is an advantage.
For me, too, it's presentation. I'm used to the county as the county was, reading the budgets and as they're presented from the auditor and as they're sent to us. So then to have them duplicated and translated, that's where I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the use of smart sheets. I'm struggling with different formats that come where I would prefer just the monthly simple budget with a review with us would be my preference. And I already know that, so I can say it. I always knew that's where I was and that's what I needed.
And that's not necessarily just about it being in my office or,
Whatever department it is.
Right.
And people like different things. And we all have, different learning styles, different
Yeah.
presentation styles.
Yep.
That's.
But I don't think that just appeared. In the 6 years I've been here, I've worked on 8 or 9 different commissioners, and there was always, we want more information, we want more information. The budget hasn't come from the auditors here since this 97, whatever year you said. I mean, there's been a partnership, but but it was usually, we need more information, more information. During these discussions, which kept the process of refining the information, whether it's a tool or not that you use or want to use. I mean, it just didn't organically someday decide to be more complicated. It was requested.
It was requested, and I do believe, and I didn't find it out, like we learn as we go, quite a few months into this whole thing, that through either Lee or you, I found out that the auditor's budget does drop. A review drops into our BOCC.
Oh, you mean the
Correct?
monthly,
Yeah.
monthly report?
Yeah,
Yes.
but I hadn't seen it, I didn't know it was there. So then I do have access to that.
Well, that's what I'm used to, is a monthly review. You know, I like quarterly reviews, but your first quarter is usually because things are just getting rolling. But when you get to second quarter, third quarter, really tells you our burn rate. I appreciate that.
And I will tell you, you know, that what Jen presents to you guys is likely to be more impressive. I don't mean that to sound pejorative, but with the and so for
Visual,
people who
yeah.
like that kind of presentation, then you're likely to get out of my office, because we're, you know, being pulled in 8 million different directions. But and there's always, you know, even with a dedicated, say, budget person, they're likely to get pulled into the annual report or something else. So
I really think one of the first things you should address is whether you're going to keep it on the commissioners or the auditor, because what you advertise for under you, whether it be a budget analyst, fiscal manager, whatever position you decide to turn that into, may be different than what she would need in her office to be able to take on this workload and take on the work that goes along with it. She may need additional staff, she may not, I don't know. And it may be different than what you have over here if this position is under the commissioner. So I don't know.
Maybe kind of a quick question. The treasurer's here also. I'd like to put everybody on the spot if you want to come up, Mr. Gallagher. If you have any. And because I mean, the position touches you also.
No, it does, and I was just listening and reflecting. I mean, I was here, Brenda Sorensen and I worked with Rob in 2020, I believe, on multiple iterations and different pieces to try to figure out how to fill the void. And I believe that, you know, as I was just asking Jen, I mean, we had a person in the job role for 20 some years, and then Jen came, you know, and so the job description was a little bit built on some unknowns, you know, and trying to figure that out. So, but I want to say that I think the most important thing that's happened recently is the communication and the ability for us to all work together. And I think that's something that has to continue, because prior to that, it was a struggle. So that was nice. So I think that that's important. I looking at the job, I haven't looked at it since how many years ago. So yes, there are some things in there that Glenn did that don't happen that way. And, you know, we're getting ready to do a computer software change, and, you know, it may even change again. So, I mean, things move and ebbs and flows and boards and, you know, but there will always be people in all the chairs trying to figure it out. And if they don't work together, they're going to struggle mightily.
So,
Yeah. So this job description, was it updated in 2020 then? I got March 16, 20.
That was when it was made. I mean, that's when we created it.
Oh,
That's
okay,
what
from what it was.
yeah, and the treasurer and the auditor reviewed it with me before we presented the commission.
Okay.
At the time.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to figure out what we were trying to correct, because I mean, that was the thing. I mean, Glenn had, his was, you know, it's like, what was the process of where we were headed and what's going on.
Some things were moved to the treasurer, some things are the auditor, we tried to figure out how to rebalance it.
Yeah.
In the middle of trying to create a budget, I think was up.
And a pandemic at the same time.
Well, and I was trying to think, and even how this position works with public link works too.
Everybody,
Uh,
no matter where it is.
Yeah.
it'll work with everybody.
that's just everyone.
Did you
I,
make a list of decisions you need to make?
yeah, I just want to make sure at least we had a discussion. I have no problem having further discussion. I really haven't had time to review the job description. It's good to know it's not that old.
But as a point though, it isn't that old, but so much has changed. I mean, I think that's the kicker where we're at, is it is a fairly new job description. And I think I felt the same way when I looked at it earlier, was even going back through it was like, oh gosh, there's so many pieces on here, and then trying to get ready to come over here. I mean, time really would be nice to be able to sit and really think through some of these pieces. Because there's some items on there about system maintenance or something that Glenn did that aren't even, that I think was added to ensure that if we needed that, and so, I mean, it's not old, but I think the position isn't really what it was then either.
So we called for a special meeting this Thursday, so.
Or we haven't, but we said we can, which
Maybe.
I'm almost feeling we need to. Thursday
And I think
morning.
we need time to go over that and bring that to the table.
And I'd like input from other people on this. What does this meet our needs today? Jen would probably answer a lot of this. Does it meet the needs or does it not? Whereas you have certain expectations too, Commissioner. So, and mine honestly is accessibility and get the information I need.
And some of that information's housed in the other departments. I mean, we collect property taxes, so some of that's housed in our office, and I think Brett, I mean, so we are available as well.
And I guess the main thing I would want from you, Heather, would be if you were gonna craft that position, whether we just fill this position with, whether it fell under you or stayed how it is somewhat, or if maybe maybe if it stayed under our department or something like that, but maybe if there'd be some changes you'd make to it. I'd want your input kind of on both, like,
Both fronts.
how it would happen,
Moved in your
because
department, what would it look like?
because like I said, it's a very different thing, like if it was under the auditor and it was 5 years ago, and then what's it gonna be like? You're probably not staying here another 30 years, 40 years.
Well, she'll commit.
So what?
She'll commit to that.
What happens once you're gone? So those are some of the talks, but it being under your department, or it being staying how it is, what the role that fulfilled and how to make it, like you said, some of the efficiencies, because maybe some of those efficiencies can happen with it as is. But maybe they can't unless they fall back into your department. It's definitely would be much harder. I think if it was, of course, in your department, if it would work out and it'd be easier for there to be some efficiencies. And the thing is, if you weren't there, or depending on who is the elected, we lose some visibility and things like that, or it becomes a little harder. Sometimes it's always harder. You've seen with past Board of County Commissioners, sometimes it's hard to work with other electeds and tough to get things from, and that can do a big shift for 4 to 8 years.
No, absolutely. I mean, those are valid points.
Yeah.
Well, and along with what Todd was asking for, if you can help point out any duplication of work that's happening that could be rearranged, and then also the idea coming into your department, if it's rearranged, does that give you a little more bandwidth to assign duties that you need help with? But yet still in the job description, say this portion of your job is to serve the county commissioners for X. That's
Yeah, how would you build the checks and balance within it?
within the job description.
Yeah, I got things between now and Thursday. I'll look at those.
Yeah. Oh, you'll lay awake tonight.
So
Great
much we
start.
trust you. Do everything.
We all know who put us in this situation.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that.
It's not your fault, Heather.
No, because originally my thought process was, let's move this way, have the discussions over here. You know, so we're moving two different angles at the same time, but it may be, what exactly is this board looking for? I think it's very important before we put it out. So that doesn't change in the process. So. I'd say let's do some, yeah, brainstorming. We'll do a workshop from 9:30 to noon on Thursday. So. You know, and I'd open it up to the Public Works for their input too, because they work with this individual too. Public Works.
Then you should invite everybody, Mr. Chair, to single out a department. And you're right, they do work with them.
Well, on the financial end.
But all departments work with this position, no more or less.
Financially?
Absolutely. I mean,
Well, okay.
and offices, I don't want to exclude.
No, that's fair.
Well, the public works component, and correct me if I'm wrong,
And-
would be about the financial system management, which is really, I don't think what we're talking about. And
Okay.
with this new upgrade, we're changing the way that's done anyway.
So that's
So I
beside the
don't-
point.
Yeah.
And I may be wrong.
And I think Jeff's gonna be there anyway.
That, like, I keep a pulse on legislation and any changes that are going on through that regard. I think I've had communications with Jeff Hunter, of course, Scott, Casey and Rob, about, just making sure they're tracking just in case this role got changed. The things that I typically keep a pulse on until it actually gets approved or denied through state legislation. And that also goes plan, and the non-capital plan, and that is directly working hand in hand with IT, with Public Works and the engineers and Rick Youngren, and Jeff Hunter on building those.
But again, that's not in this job description, so
It's not, so I mean.
Jen has gone above and beyond, and
It's,
so that's part of why I'm saying you guys need to figure out what you need and want out of this position. Because it goes back to, building unicorns, and then, we've all, because Jen did such a great job, have this expectation, doesn't mean that there's a bunch of Jens around the corner ready to sign up for this job, so.
well, that's it too. You don't know.
In the Public Works, I think they plan to attend Thursday.
No,
I already talked to
and don't misunderstand. I'm probably more also gonna lean on Jen to give me, what's a little different than what's in here today? What's realistic? I wanna hear, from Heather, that's how I see it if we went this way, or how I see it. And any input from Greg. I mean, the bottom line, I'd like to make a decision sooner than later which direction we're heading, what's the expectations of the commissioners.
And I think one thing we're all gonna need to do, not today, is decide how we're gonna get from point A to point B.
Yes.
Because to get to point B may go past the supplemental, and we're gonna, I know Jen is.
Well,
to do certain things
as
for us,
well as I know,
figure that out.
we've kind of set some workshops up, and I'm almost want to set all the workshops, a lot of the different things we've set up and put them aside. And for us to focus on the budget process, why we have Jen here, why we still have that understanding. So that this is that too.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important, right? I know it's important. Because I feel a lot of stuff is, to me, is hinged on making a lot more decisions in the future. Even like the topic we had before this one.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the bigger, broader picture. Because I don't want piecemeal stuff. I just don't, because I've been in this position before and I've seen piecemealing and I see it bite your rear come budget time. Because it's like, oh, we approved that much more in the positions. And you don't realize it until budget hits you. So. Well, then we'll see on.
And Rob, we had a little bit of a discussion. Is there, how many counties have a position like this?
I don't recall. I just remember when we looked at it and I was calling around trying to get examples. Some have budget analysts, some have budget managers, depends on the size of the county, west side, east side. I couldn't, Heather probably has a better or great idea than I do, but similar counties and how they're structured. But like Heather said, if you've seen one county, you've seen one county. So, but if I recall when we were creating that and Heather and I were talking, I think I have a draft budget analyst position. Because, we were trying to figure out which way to go 5 years ago. I just think counties do it differently depending on their other, how they're sliced and diced and set up. So I couldn't answer that, maybe Heather agreed.
Not off the top of my head, but I could poll my fellow auditors. And code counties are set up different than charter counties generally, so you have to distinguish those two. But I can find out how many of my fellow code auditors have budget in their offices and how many have a designated budget person or position.
That'd be, and you don't have to, yeah, if you're able to have some of that. Those are always great things to have an idea of, like some do it like this and.
Oh,
you know,
other counties.
Yeah, some of those conversations and they love it or they hate it.
Well, and not to make Greg's eyes twitch, but part of it has, because the auditor's role is so diverse, right? We've got elections, we've got finance, we've got licensing.
Yeah.
Some auditors love finance, some auditors hate finance, and part of why the county wound up in the position that it was previously was because a particular auditor hated finance and said, get it as far away from me as you can.
Back in the day, that was the same.
And then another auditor came in and said, well, no, I want finance back. And it was, well, I can't have it back.
Or components of it back.
Yeah. So.
So that is the one risk that it's elected, it's have someone with very little finance experience or desire.
And the auditor, him or herself, sure, could have very little finance experience, but I'm gonna give it to my very competent, wonderful employees who do have the finance experience. I mean, my job is not to sit there and, enter line item budget, right? So, but like in anything, you have to be able to rely on good employees. And so, so the auditor, him or herself, shouldn't matter quite as much. It's just kind of where you rely on staff or finance is more my thing than other operators. Rely on my chief deputy very heavily for recording and licensing, because those really aren't my things. So.
Well, I think everybody's got a little bit of stuff to go grab.
Yeah.
Hold up. Everything.
Yeah, thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
It's a.
Yes. Wait. That was the last thing I was thinking of this afternoon. Thank you.
Of course. I wanted to come before you and ask you, last year, Leanne and I attended a conference with the Washington Association of County Clerks. And it was a valuable conference. It allows us to network with other counties. We attended workshops and it helped further our knowledge. And it also provides us with a support system that is very valuable. But what would be required if we get permission to do this? We would need to close the office half day on Wednesday, April 23rd, and be closed April 24th and 25th. So
And it was a valuable conference last year because I came here. They came back supercharged with lots of information, lots of.
February?
No, this is in April,
Oh, okay.
but you have to sign up now, otherwise.
But you can't buy anything new this year.
Yeah, no new
They
program.
sell them program.
Every solution creates a problem.
Yeah, this is in the budget. We did budget for this and we will ask for a scholarship. We did last year also.
Yeah. And you were successful in your scholarship too.
That works for, and then I have one more.
I don't have an issue. I think,
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be wrong.
well, since you don't agree, that's okay. No, I think networking is very important. And a lot of times finding out how other people do it, same question you have, or what other counties are doing it like this is not a bad thing. And some people have some great ideas that we never thought of.
And I know Elise has reached out to other counties.
Well, we're a young board, but this is a young staff and everyone's a little.
Yeah.
I know we don't look young, but we're new at our jobs. I should rephrase that.
We're still green. Also while I'm on this. This is also, we also budgeted for this. It was the Northwest Clerks Institute. It's training. We also get a scholarship for this through the risk pool. And this would be a week of professional training. Leanne would go June 1st through June 6th. I would end up going June 15th through the 20th. So she would be gone for a week and then I would be gone for a week. It goes to Tacoma and we stay at the University of Puget Sound in dorms.
No luxury hotel.
Yeah, we can't leave. It's definitely a phenomenal experience. But they teach us a lot about public records, archiving, statutes to keep up with, the the legal challenges that we face, which I think is very important to learn. But so I also wanted to get your verbal permission on that.
So those were 2 separate weeks?
Yeah, they're 2 separate weeks, so it'd be June 1st through the 6th, and that would just be for Leanne, and then I would go June 15th through the 20th
And it's where?
in Tacoma, right? Yeah.
I was actually not bad in June.
Good.
Yeah, and our budget is one budget I haven't looked at, but and so.
Yeah, it's already been budgeted, but we also get the scholarship too.
And you get
so.
the, yeah, okay.
You will.
You're not guaranteed.
No, but we will.
Was it a yes, Ron?
No,
I
2 commissioners saying, yeah.
Okay, all right.
think so.
Thank you.
The other.
A week without kids.
Yeah.
Any other business? Yes, sir.
And you guys are up there, stop and eat at Tacoma City. No, Wooden City.
Good.
Motion to recess to Thursday at 9:00.
Sure, I'll make a motion to recess till Thursday at 9:30 for a special workshop.
I second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.